Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered if we're truly alone? Or perhaps if we've been visited before? Today, we're diving deep into one of history's most compelling and controversial mysteries, the Anunnaki. Who were these powerful beings from ancient Mesopotamian myths? Were they gods, ancient astronauts, or something else entirely? The story begins in the Fertile Crescent, modern-day Iraq, with the Sumerians, one of the earliest known civilizations. Around 6,000 years ago, they etched incredible stories onto clay tablets. These cuneiform texts tell of powerful deities they called the Anunnaki, which translates to something like, those who from heaven to earth came. According to these ancient myths, the Anunnaki were a pantheon of gods and goddesses who governed the universe. The head of this pantheon was An, the god of the heavens, and his son Enlil, the god of the air. They were described as beings of immense power, responsible for creating the world, the skies, and even humanity itself. For thousands of years, these stories were seen simply as mythology, fascinating but fictional tales of creation. But in the 20th century, a writer named Zecharia Sitchin proposed a radical new interpretation. Sitchin, who claimed to be one of the few scholars able to read and interpret Sumerian cuneiform, argued that these weren't myths at all. He believed they were historical records. According to Sitchin's theory, the Anunnaki were not gods, but flesh and blood extraterrestrials from a yet undiscovered planet in our solar system called Nibiru. He proposed that Nibiru has a long elliptical orbit, bringing it close to Earth every 3,600 years. Sitchin claimed that around 450,000 years ago, the Anunnaki came to Earth with a specific mission: to mine gold. Why gold? Sitchin's theory suggests that their home planet's atmosphere was deteriorating and they needed gold particles to repair it, a concept that sounds surprisingly similar to modern geoengineering ideas. The story gets even more dramatic. The Anunnaki, who were tasked with mining the gold, known as the Igigi, eventually rebelled against the grueling labor. To solve this labor crisis, two Anunnaki scientists, Enki and Ninhursag, were said to have engineered a new species. They allegedly took the genetic material of a primitive hominid already on Earth, perhaps Homo erectus, and combined it with their own DNA. The result? Homo sapiens, us. We were created, according to this theory, to be a slave race, to mine the gold for our alien masters. This is the core of the ancient astronaut theory concerning the Anunnaki. It reframes our entire understanding of human origins. It suggests that major leaps in human evolution and civilization, like the sudden appearance of agriculture and complex societies, weren't just happy accidents. Instead, they were gifts, or perhaps deliberate introductions, from our extraterrestrial creators. Proponents of this theory point to the advanced knowledge of the Sumerians in astronomy, mathematics, and architecture as evidence of this otherworldly influence. How could an ancient civilization possess such sophisticated knowledge without some form of external help? However, it's crucial to state that mainstream historians, archaeologists, and scientists overwhelmingly reject Sitchin's theories. They argue that his translations of the Sumerian texts are inaccurate and often taken out of context. Scholars point out that the word Anunnaki simply refers to the primary deities of the Sumerian pantheon, often associated with fertility and the underworld, not space travel. The epic poems like the Enuma Elish are seen as cosmological myths explaining the creation of the world and social order, not as factual accounts of extraterrestrial visitation. The idea of Nibiru as a 12th planet is also not supported by any astronomical evidence. So, if the Anunnaki weren't ancient astronauts, what's the alternative? This brings us to another fascinating, though less known, theory that the Anunnaki were not aliens from another planet, but a forgotten, advanced human royal bloodline. This idea proposes that heaven, or the sky, wasn't a reference to outer space, but to a higher social status, a ruling class so powerful and advanced that they seemed like gods to the common people. Think about it. Throughout history, rulers have often claimed divine right to rule. They were seen as descendants of the gods, living in opulent mountaintop fortresses or grand ziggurats that reached for the heavens. Could the Anunnaki have been a dynasty of human kings and queens who possessed lost knowledge from a previous forgotten civilization? Perhaps a civilization that was wiped out by a cataclysm, like a great flood. An event that, coincidentally, is also a central part of Sumerian mythology, with the hero Ziusudra surviving in a great boat. This lost bloodline theory suggests that the Anunnaki were the keepers of this ancient, advanced knowledge of agriculture, architecture, astronomy, and genetics. They would have appeared godlike to the less developed tribes around them. Their genetic experiments might not have been about creating a slave race from scratch, but rather a more metaphorical form of social engineering or selective breeding to create a capable workforce or a loyal priest class. The mining for gold could be a metaphor for the accumulation of wealth and power. This perspective doesn't require us to believe in aliens or undiscovered planets. It grounds the Anunnaki story in a more plausible human context of power, knowledge, and control. It paints a picture of a highly sophisticated, perhaps even genetically distinct group of humans who established the foundations of civilization and over time were deified in the memories and myths of their descendants. The stories passed down through generations would have embellished their feats, turning advanced technology into magic and superior knowledge into divine wisdom. So we have two compelling, yet wildly different explanations for the same ancient texts. On one hand, the ancient astronaut theory, a tale of extraterrestrial creators visiting Earth for gold and genetically engineering humanity. It's a science fiction epic that challenges the very foundation of human history. On the other hand, the lost bloodline theory, a more grounded political drama of an elite, powerful human dynasty whose advanced knowledge made them seem like gods, their story becoming myth over millennia. What do you think? Do the Sumerian tablets describe a visit from outer space? Or are they the embellished history of a forgotten line of powerful human rulers who shaped our destiny? Could the truth be a combination of both, or something we haven't even imagined yet? The mystery of the Anunnaki forces us to question our origins and consider the possibility that our history is far more complex and mysterious than we've been taught. The debate is far from over, and these ancient stories continue to captivate us. They remind us that there are still so many unanswered questions buried in the sands of time. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this exploration, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history's greatest mysteries. See you next time.